going to hold your hand ever so gently when I tell you this. Harry is not plotting his return to the royal family. But I know the British media and its patterns well enough at this point to understand why you would think that. Skipping past the intentional use of the word exile in this headline, even though if I remember correctly, it was Harry who plucked his family out of the UK and dipped. They were not exiled, they left. Anytime Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are in the press in any sort of positive light, the British media devolves into a pit of absolute delusion, pushing false narratives behind the guise of inside sources. And this is nothing new. It happens literally all the time. A few months ago, after the couple went to Nigeria on their trip, positive headlines came out of the country about the warmth and the accomplishments that these two had. This was followed quickly by the complete dissolvement of British media news journalists, headlines, even going to the fact of calling Nigeria an African nation equal to that of Germany. The vitriol became so out of pocket that the First Lady of Nigeria had to step up and defend herself and Meghan Markle against some of the accusations that were coming out of the British media. And this is the expected normal response from the British media. We expect the backlash and we see it happen in front of our eyes. But once that initial wave dies down, something extremely sinister tends to happen right after. The story that took hold mere days after the end of the Nigeria trip by the Sussexes was something about their charity being delinquent. And it happened 2 days after their trip ended in Nigeria. Of course, shortly after, the truth came out and it was shown that the charity was actually not in any sort of bad standing and was not about tax filings or being delinquent. Literally a non-story. So with her recent trip to Colombia, the exact same play happened. There were positive headlines about their visits. And of course, the British media lost it, did their initial wave of grandiose grandstanding and negativity about how they were taking tax dollars from a third world country. And then once that died down, Meghan Markle was said to have been investing in a new company. It also came out that her cookbook that she made while being an active royal actually has brought in more than $1 million to date. And then boom, all of a sudden the second wave of sinister headlines start to pop up, and all of a sudden we see Harry wants to get back into the royal fold being blasted across multiple front pages of British media. And a lot of British royalists or even everyday people who look at these tabloids as news sources automatically take this and run. Even reputable Rhoda journalists who are part of the British media are also pushing these narratives, but once you take a look, they never name their sources. Who is this inside source who is saying that Harry wants to come back so bad? Is this the same Harry who has on multiple occasions in many different interviews said that it would take a large amount of reconciliation and apologies for him to even think about bringing his wife and family back into the UK for fear of safety? That would say that they want back in the royal fold? Why would they go from a Montecito mansion in the hills of California to a little cottage called Frogmore? Like, I need everyone to start using their critical thinking skills. And if you think the British media has any sort of insights into what the Sussexes are about, I hate to break it to you, but you are wrong. They have been cut off. The same media who said that Harry was not going to be attending his uncle's funeral and were saying that it was such a sad decision for him to make, were left with pie on their face when Harry did in fact go to the funeral, snuck into the country without telling anyone, and they did not have the scoop. If the media got it wrong on something that was so easily found, such as a plane ticket or booking, why do you believe that they all of a sudden know that Harry wants to go back into the royal family's fold?